What's up, everybody? We're gonna talk a little bit more shit this morning. Not too sure what this video will be about exactly, but somehow we'll get through it. Do some of you perhaps remember some debate that Richard Dawkins had where he supposedly couldn't recall the full title of Darwin's Origin of Species? What is the full title? Do you know? If you're interested, says The Guardian, just if you're interested, the full title is On the Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection or the Preservation of Favored Races in the Struggle for Life. Hardly a snappy title. That's all they have to say. The Guardian of all things moral, right? Anytime anybody says something, well, anybody on the right, and I'm not on the right myself, says anything questionable that could be construed as, racist or whatever, they'll be the first ones to do it, right? But not now. How come? Why can't most people see through the hypocrisy of a lot of these authorities, think tanks, right? Political parties, if you will. Why is it so difficult to see through the hypocrisy and stop fucking listening to these people, whether they be on the left or the right? Let me take a sip of my coffee. And do you honestly believe that Richard Dawkins, right, such a intelligent, eloquent, well-read, quick on the draw in any intellectual debate man, could not recall the full title of the Origin of Species? Or is it just too fucking embarrassing? And which is probably the reason why it was hidden, right? Why they shortened it, right? Because back in those days, the country bumpkins didn't read, okay? Books were just for the elite. That's how they communicated with one another, and they didn't have to worry about the country bumpkin because the country bumpkin was too busy struggling to fucking survive, right? And these people were looking to justify their privilege, the expansion, conquest, genocide, the dominance of other peoples by the British Empire. So they, studied finch beaks and wrote fantasy novels to excuse and explain why it is that they get to dominate you. Like, do you not see the baggage that this shit comes with? Look at the baggage that this shit comes with. If you're gonna take on these worldviews, shouldn't you examine them at least? Isn't that the scientific method? Aren't scientists supposed to try to debunk their theories, and then throw their hands up in the air, provided that they're honest, saying, we can't, so it must be true. This still doesn't prove that it is true, but if you try your hardest to debunk your theory and you can't do it, then chances are it is true. It's the best answer we got. But that's not how science works. It's supposed to work that way, but it doesn't. And that's why you got all these little kids running around saying that science proves things. Now, okay, hard science, it's a different thing. Whether we're talking about physics or mathematics, that's a different thing. But when we take mathematics and apply it to this, squishy, quote unquote, science such as evolution, it falls apart. Okay? So if you want to talk about scientific laws, whether it be physics or mathematics, when you actually apply some of those principles to Darwin's theory of evolution, it falls the fuck apart. It's a scheme, dummies, designed to justify your slavery and explain why your controllers get to enslave you. Why they get to open up that door, and once you let them in, there's no telling what they're gonna do with you. then they're gonna be fully in control of your evolution. And shit, they might actually make their dream come true, finally. If you know what I'm saying. If you understand what's being said. Obviously, I'm talking about, well, GMOs, right? Of course. So, I don't for 1 second believe that Dawkins couldn't recall the full title of Darwin's book. I think he was, well, he didn't want to give away the game plan, right? Because the country bumpkins started reading and the shit had to be hidden away from them. And I mean, just look at this, man. Really? Really? This your hero? Somebody mentioned Cosmic fucking Skeptic in one of my videos. I had made at least 2 videos debunking the nonsense, the little boys fucking nonsense. Okay, if you're impressed and swayed by the British accent, I don't know what to tell you, man. If you think that simply because someone speaks with one of them posh British accents, English accents, that they're automatically smart, you can't be that yourself, okay? Cosmic Skeptic, like, I'm not gonna say the guy's an idiot. I think it's a lot more sinister than that, okay? He's a disciple of these cunts right here. These genocidal fucking maniacs. Which is why the Cosmic Skeptic, your fucking hero, someone who impresses you, said that he would nuke the fucking world, the entire world, if he could ensure that no one felt any pain from that decision, right? He's a fucking nihilistic, genocidal fucking maniac. Or just a hipster who thinks it's cool to nuke the world. So long as no one feels any pain. It's cool to kill everybody. So long as they don't feel any pain. Okay, but that is veganism, right? It's okay to eat human beings according to veganism, so long as they don't have any feelings. So long as they're not sentient, you could kill, eat, you could do whatever you want with human beings, so long as they're not sentient. And the way some of you quote-unquote scientists be talking, you look to be well on the way to losing your fucking sentience. Cosmic Skeptic. I'm supposed to be impressed by Cosmic Skeptic, who pushes John Rawls' veil of ignorance argument, right? That we should make monumental decisions about how to run society from a veil of ignorance. we should make decisions about how to conduct our lives using ignorance. Like, this is the epitome of Western civilization and philosophical thought. Western philosophical thought? Really? That's the epitome? Make decisions. Make grandiose decisions. Grand decisions about everybody's life on this planet. From behind a veil of ignorance. Like, who falls for this shit? Well, non-sentient or soon-to-be non-sentient human fucking beings. Zombies! So, fucking Gargamel over here. He knew full well what the full title of Darwin's book was. He just, I won't say he was embarrassed about it. He just didn't want you. He wants to hide the game plan, basically. That's always been the case. That's why your American Constitution was signed in fucking secret. What, wasn't your first president elected in secret by the Electoral College? Do you think anything has changed? Anyway, the veil of ignorance. That's for you, dummies. The truth says you can't prove anything in science, right? Now, okay, mathematics, yeah. Physics, probably, okay? And he says this, right? But not when it comes to something like evolution, for example. You can't You can't prove evolution. The only way you'd be able to prove evolution is to literally observe it. And how do you do that? Well, you need a time machine, and you know, I don't know, what is it? You tell me, guys. Millions of years? Hundreds of thousands of years? Like, what's the limit? The only way you can prove without the shadow of a doubt something like evolution is by showing, observing one species becoming another. And that still wouldn't prove evolution for all species, just that species there. Now, I think it would be fair to extrapolate that it's likely that other species evolve in this way, but that would be a good start. Okay, you would come as close or very, very close to being able to prove it. You still wouldn't prove it. You literally have to prove something, you literally have to show everything that evolution asserts. You'd have to actually show it. Okay? Now, so it's impossible. Of course it is. Like, when you go to court, for example, how do you prove that somebody murdered somebody? Well, most of the time you don't prove any of this. There's just enough evidence to convince enough people that they did it. But it's still not irrefutable proof, right? Which is why so many people who get sentenced, later evidence comes out and proves them innocent. Okay? The only way you could prove that someone, for example, murdered someone is if you have that on video, on film. Okay? And then you need experts, hopefully honest ones, to show that, you know, the movie, the video is not a forgery. Right? That's the only way you could prove that someone murdered someone. Just because you find their fingerprints on the murder weapon, that still doesn't prove that they killed the person. It doesn't. Because they very well could have come in contact with the weapon without, you know, killing the person or anything other than that. Duh. So you can't prove evolution. It's fucking impossible. So this idea, again, that a scientific theory is somehow proof, like, I just don't know what to say about these people who just don't understand basic concept. You know what I think it is for a lot of people? I'm not saying this person specifically, but this is how I think it happens for a lot of people. Mommy and daddy make them go to church, and church is boring, and they hate it, and they don't want to participate in that. So they develop, from very, very young, distaste and a disgust for religion, and then someone stokes that disgust with quote unquote science and, you know, Darwin and all these other things, the school system basically, right? And they put these two ideas as diametrically opposed, and there's a lot of good reasons why that is. I get that, but at the same time, it is a bit of a false dialectic. Okay, it is. But then they groom these little boys and girls to basically hate religion or God religion, and they replace that with something that's more exciting, right? Something that's very self-congratulatory and gratifying, because look, you're here, right? You're on this planet, you're surviving, you must be one of the fittest. Right? So it stokes their egos, and it makes them feel grand, and then they come on here and they tell you how stupid you are, not realizing just how much of a buffoon they are, how much they've been conned, how silly and ignorant they are, how controlled and manipulated by the powers that be they are. Let me take another sip of my coffee. I mean, again, this whole idea that you could just put scientific in front of the theory, and all of a sudden the word theory doesn't mean what it means because you put scientific in front of it, right? Like, just basic logic eludes these people. They just don't understand it. This whole idea that, like this guy said in another video, which I already addressed and debunked on many levels, but I'll give you another example. But this idea that somehow scientific theory is proof, right? Once a theory is scientific, then it means it's true, right? Or it has some kind of validity to it where it can no longer be refuted. After Darwin looked at those finch beaks, right? And in my opinion, he had a preconceived notion. He was looking for evidence in the natural world to corroborate, okay? Because he was part of the favored race, and he needed to find evidence why it's okay for the favored race to subjugate the non-favored races, right? Anyway, so he looked at some finch beaks in the Galapagos, and from there he got this elaborate theory about evolution and extrapolated that to every single species on the planet, right? Even though all he observed was potentially microevolution, from that he got macroevolution. And we got the Darwinian theory, scientific theory of evolution, right? But since then, much more evidence has come to the forefront, right? And a lot of studies have corroborated his theory, right? A lot of discoveries. And we'll talk about the fraud in just a second here. But there's been a lot of evidence that fits in to this idea, right? And corroborated it. And it's still just a theory, right? So if a scientific theory is somehow proves something, then why do we still look for evidence when Darwin had his scientific theory way back in the day based on finch beaks and nothing else, or little more than that? And then that was the scientific theory. Why do we just keep looking for more evidence if that already was somehow proof of something, right? That doesn't make any sense. So that was, in other words, that back then was a scientific theory, even though there's a lot more evidence that's been found. Not proof, but something that could potentially, it does fit into this theory, right? Tons and tons more evidence has been found, studies conducted, 200 or so years later. It's still called a theory. So even though more evidence has been found, what Darwin said was just as valid, or the evidence back then was somehow just as strong as it is today. That doesn't make any sense. Wouldn't you have to say that the theory has become more believable, perhaps, because there's more and more evidence for it? And yet, according to this person, it hasn't. It doesn't make any sense. At any rate, what about all the scientific fraud looking to substantiate the Darwin's theory of evolution, right? Like the Piltdown Man or Haeckel's embryos, right? Just outright scientific fraud. Why don't these scientists, why don't they ever talk about that? That's a little bit embarrassing, don't you think? I mean, we're acting here like this is some kind of a sporting competition, right? Us versus them. And everyone's trying to score. Well, it shouldn't be this way, because that's not what science is supposed to be. But if it is, shouldn't Darwin's team be disqualified? I mean, you guys got so many fucking red cards. Why are you still playing the game? You know what I mean? Your job as a scientist is to try to disprove your own fucking theory. Try your hardest and your earnest to disprove your theory. Okay? Not push your theory as absolute truth and fucking fact, because that's what religious people do. And I'm not talking about all religions. I'm generalizing, right? But at the very least, what religion has become for a lot of people. You can't question it. You have to proselytize and push it. And that's what these so-called scientists are doing. These people that are pro-evolution. That's what you're doing. When your job as a scientist or someone who's pro-science is to try to debunk, be honest about it. Try to debunk yourself. And then at the end of the day, maybe you could throw your hands up in the air and say, I can't disprove this. There must be something to this. Right? But your job as a scientist, I thought, was to try to debunk it, not proselytize this shit as a fact of life. Because once again, you cannot prove something like the theory of evolution. It's impossible. And the evolutionists make it so, right? Because, and I think this is a good argument. I don't think, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think the theory of evolution is falsifiable. Like, in other words, how would you disprove it, right? And if it's not falsifiable, then it's not even a scientific theory, right? Because that's what scientific theory means. It means that it's testable. And if it's testable, then it was tested, right? And what does that mean? Testable. Testability of the scientific theory implies falsifiability, meaning that there is a way to disprove it. Because I could come up with some fucking theory that no one can disprove because it encompasses everything. Everything, if I concoct some kind of a theory where everything is evidence for this theory, how do you disprove it, right? Like global warming or, global climate change. The climate is changing, so humans are doing it, right? Because humans are here and it's getting colder over there, it's getting warmer over here, it's raining more over there, and it's raining less over here, and this place where it used to rain a lot, now it rains less, and the place where it rained less, now it's raining more, and all of the climate is constantly changing, so humans, right? Like, how do you disprove that? Yeah, climate is changing. Oh, okay. How do you falsify this theory? You have to, for a theory to be scientific, it has to be falsifiable, meaning you can actually test it, right? But just because you tested it, that doesn't mean that you proved it correct. Boxing fans will get this. This is a good example, right? If I have a theory that Amir Khan has no chin, right? Let's say we're 10 years ago or something like that. And my theory is Amir Khan has no chin. Well, how do we test that theory? We put him in the ring and have boxers hit him on the chin. You could put Amir Khan in the ring with various fighters and they land bang on the chin and nothing happens or he doesn't get knocked out. We just tested the theory, right? That is the test of this theory that Amir Khan has no chin. So if we're able to test it, we're able to falsify it, right? We're giving Amir Khan's opponents a chance to show that he has no chin. And they land on the damn chin a bunch of times, which actually happened in his career. And he doesn't get hurt, he doesn't get knocked out. We conducted a bunch of experiments and they corroborated our theory. Did we prove anything? No, but it's a scientific theory because it's falsifiable and it's testable. We tested it, right? And then Amir Khan gets in the ring with, who was it, Willie Lamond or Bradis Prescott, Danny Garcia, right? And they crack that fucking chin. And the latter two guys spark him out, right? Knock him out, showing that he has no chin. But while we were testing that theory before, it passed the test. It didn't pass the test. Well, so far so good at the time, right? There was we devised a test that will falsify the theory, and we put his chin through the test, and it did okay. It looked like a good chin. But then we kept testing it, and it turned out that, well, he didn't have a chin. So the theory was correct, right? Or I forget whatever my theory was, that he doesn't have a chin or he does have a chin. Anyway, you know what I mean? Just because a theory has been tested, that doesn't mean that it was proved, right? It was just tested. You gotta keep testing it. You have to keep trying to falsify it. And if we honestly try to falsify it and we can't, we keep trying, and we can't, then at some point we have to consider, I think it might be okay to try to use this theory to apply it into our lives, right? But it's still, just because it passed a bunch of tests or it wasn't falsified, but it is falsifiable, but it wasn't falsified, that doesn't mean that it's true, because you could have Amir Khan fight 1,000,000 guys and never get knocked out, and then finally he does, right? Just because he hasn't gotten knocked out, that doesn't mean he has a good chin. But it's a pretty good indication that he maybe does have a good chin. But can we be 100% sure? No. So, and again, this whole idea or all this evidence that there's been so much fraud trying to prove or to find evidence for the theory of evolution, well, I mean, those are just like the roaches that we saw. How many more roaches are there hiding in the walls, people? Like, it's a well-known fact that there is scientific fraud. Okay? So why are you just assuming it's no longer happening when we know it's happening? Why are you assuming it's not happening when it comes to the theory of evolution and these scientists who aren't even, it would seem, trying to debunk it, which is what they're supposed to do, but they're proselytizing it like religion? That's not even scientific in and of itself. And then we have all this evidence of fraud when it comes to the theory of evolution. We have all this evidence of fraud in science, period. We have all these problems with peer review. And then we're just going to act like we know something? When science, at least when it comes to evolution, isn't even there to give us 100% certainty anyway. Ultimately, it's always going to be a belief. It might be a justifiable belief, a belief that has credibility, right? But it's ultimately, it still will forever be a belief. So, this is how you know these people that are supposedly pro-science are really pro-scientism, because they don't question. They proselytize. They act like it's fact. They act like you can't have a different opinion. And here's another problem. The fact that there is no free speech in the scientific community. How are you even okay with that? Well, you don't give a shit, because as so long as they're saying what you want to hear, then you're cool with that. Like, that completely destroys the credibility of science today. The fact that you can't even have an honest debate. Go listen to some of these pro-evolution versus anti-evolution debates. And there's so few and far between that you can... I'm talking about in academia, not some douchebags online. Just the simple fact that there are so few of them out there, and you got to go back like 10 or 20, 30 years to find them, should tell you something. There's tons of people who question the theory of evolution, but they're not even allowed to debate this. And there's at least one debate out there on YouTube you could find where the people who are anti this theory are giving good arguments and making good points, and the pro-evolution side is getting emotional and just yelling and screaming and just acting like religious fucking zealots. So, if you're truly pro-science, okay, you're going to look to debunk the evolutionary theory, not proselytize it, because that's religion, okay? That's religion, dummy. I had another comment somewhere here that I wanted to address. Okay, you're mixing up fact, truth, and a proven, not disproven theory. When you operationalize your hypothesis for your experiment, you define how it will be measured. What? You measure, like, this doesn't even make any sense. This is just word salad. You're gonna, what am I measuring? The hypothesis or the experiment? This is a highly more relaxed, like, is English your second language, bro? This is a highly more relaxed view than making a claim for truth. Like, this is just word salad. You're just saying things. You already make a single argument. You're just throwing shit out there. You can't even communicate. You're mixing up fact, truth, and a proven, not disproven theory. When you said this is the error you made when you should have said this or that. Like, you're not giving any justification. You're just throwing shit out there. You're failing to communicate. You can't even communicate, bro. Let me try to parse some of this out. Truth and not a proven, not disproven theory. Huh? Proven, not disproven theory. There's no such thing, in at least when it comes to these squishy sciences. You cannot prove a theory. We already established that. But you can disprove it, right? So, and again, I don't know that the evolutionary theory gives us a chance to falsify it. Like, how would we falsify it? For those of you who believe in evolution, and evolution is your religion, okay? Get that straight. You tell me how we falsify it. How do we disprove evolution? Because to me, it seems like anytime anything comes up in the fossil record that says something different, well, first of all, either it's just a fucking fraud, it's a lie, right? So that should make me question everything that's found out there. Like look at it this way. The people that are the archaeologists that are looking for fossils, right? Well, why are they looking for fossils? Well, because they're Darwinists, probably, right? So they're going to interpret whatever they find through the lens of Darwinism, right? So whatever they find, they're going to find a way to fit it into their theory, right? That's pseudoscientific. You're supposed to disprove it. Try to, at least, right? So suppose they find a fossil of a modern animal in a strata that, correlates or supposedly, and all these dating techniques too, man. Like, you could poke so many holes in them anyway. But let's suppose that they're somewhat correct, and you find like a modern animal millions of years ago, right? You honestly think that the Guardian is going to publish an article about that? Right? Maybe the student that finds some bone or something has somewhat of an idea. Oh, it looks kind of modern. They find pieces of the skeleton of an animal that looks kind of modern, and he submits it to his supervisor or professor or whatever. And they do DNA testing on it, and they find that it's like, a tiger. They find the DNA of a tiger that's no different than the tiger today from 5 million years ago. You honestly think that's going to make the light of day, given that there's been so much fraud in the field, and the field is dominated, right, of archaeology, is dominated by Darwinists? You think that's going to make the light of day? How many fossils have been hidden from us? I mean, we know they find giant skeletons of giant human beings. It's been reported, found all over the place. I got people in my neighborhood telling me that researchers came here to Ecuador and they found giant skulls. And they were there to see it themselves. And where did those skulls go? I don't know. Right? You got to live a little bit, people. You got to get out your fucking bubble. You got to go investigate, explore, live life. You know what I mean? Like, where all these fossils go? And what about DNA evidence literally just debunking the out of Africa single origin myth? Like, have you even heard anything about that? You think these scientists want to admit that they were wrong all this time? Have you ever heard anything about this? DNA evidence debunked, literally debunked it, out of single origin, out of Africa theory, which is a huge part. I mean, when it comes to human evolution, that's the basis. But that's already been debunked scientifically by DNA studies. Like, no one should ever say that we all have a single origin in Africa, right? Pilltown, man. There's been so much fucking fraud. And who's to say that these skeletons that they find, like a skull and a big toe, right? And they build a whole fucking animal out of that, and they say, oh, well, it was a primitive human. How do you know it wasn't a monkey? Right? Because they're looking at these fossils through the lens of evolution, looking to try to, quote unquote, prove it. So, in closing, I guess, a scientific theory is, for a hypothesis to become a theory, it has to be falsifiable. You have to give us a way in which we can disprove it. So what is that for all of you evolutionists out there? How do we disprove evolution? Give us a reasonable test that can disprove it. I'm not sure it exists, because anytime someone starts to poke holes in the evolutionary theory, you just move the goalpost and revise it, or you just ignore it, just like the out of Africa myth. Didn't that falsify evolution? Or at least poke huge holes into it? Right? The idea that we all came from one life form somewhere in Africa, and, that monkey or whatever it was, proto-human thing, turned into, 7-foot tall, blonde fucking Nordics and super hairy, 5'9", darker skinned Muslims and slanted eye, 5'2", hairless Asians, and like, what? Huh? Guys, that's bullshit. Science proved that that's bullshit. So okay, what do we do now? Do we move the goalpost and revise the evolutionary theory, or do we just ignore it? Because so far it seems like they've been ignoring it. What gives, guys? How do we falsify it? Because anytime it would seem that there's evidence found that could potentially falsify it, well, it's ignored. And then there's all this fraud and these supposed fossils that supposedly prove something that are being shown to be complete and utter frauds. And how many of them that have been found and are purported to be this or that are frauds that haven't yet been exposed as frauds? Like, how do we know this? We don't know anything. How do we falsify evolution? In order for Darwin's evolutionary theory, which has been revised so many fucking times and so much on has been tacked onto it, right? You move the goalpost. Because Darwin himself said, he gave us one way of falsifying his theory. He said, if we cannot find, and I don't know if he gave us a time limit, but he said that we should be able to find thousands, if not millions, of intermediate forms, right? So like, I don't know, a fish with, don't hold me to this, right? I'm, being a little bit dramatic here, but like, maybe a fish with one leg or half a leg, or a fin turning into a leg, right before it crawled out of the ocean and became a lizard or whatever. I don't know. You tell me. You're the expert, right? We're going to need to find these intermediate forms. And Darwin himself stated thousands of these everywhere. Where are they? We haven't found anything. Right? So what's the time limit? If supposedly there's supposed to be all these intermediate forms everywhere, right? Which would make sense. And we haven't found any. That was the test, right? Supposedly to falsify Darwin's theory. But I guess you could say, well, just keep looking and you'll find it. And if you just keep saying to keep looking, then it's not falsifiable. How do we falsify it? How do we prove it wrong? And if you can't prove it wrong, then it's just like religion. All it is belief. How do we prove evolution wrong? What's the burden of proof here? Right? So I'm not even sure it's a scientific theory to begin with. Unless you could provide me with a reasonable, or not some bullshit, but a reasonable way of disproving this theory, which I thought Darwin did, then you can't even say it's a scientific theory because it has to be falsifiable. How do we disprove it? How? If you keep constantly moving the goalpost, forging all these fossils, lying about your experiments, silencing the competition, not wanting to have a debate, and proselytizing it like religion, if you're not out there looking to disprove your own notions, why are you calling it science? Why? How do we disprove evolution? Someone tell me. And tell me how the discovery of an ancient goat species in sub-Saharan Africans, West Africans, yeah, the presence of a goat species in their DNA, which doesn't figure in any other race on this planet, just West Africans. Okay, right? If we all came from a single origin, then shouldn't all of us have this goat species? Right? If that's the origin, and the original people supposedly have this DNA of this ghost species that we're not sure what that even is, what it looked like exactly. And we all came from that place. Shouldn't all of us have this ghost species in our DNA? And yet we don't. If the original people, supposedly, if we don't share the origins of the original people, supposedly, then there's no way we could have come from those people. Or at the very least, there was interbreeding back and forth all over the damn place. There's this single origin story. It was bullshit, right? So that in and of it, I'm not saying it destroys the entire theory of evolution, right? But this is the problem again. People, Darwinists, are going to move the goalpost. They're going to revise the theory because new evidence, once they finally admit it, they're going to be forced to eventually. Once they finally admit it, they're going to change the whole fucking theory, move it around, make this new evidence fit into the theory because of their preconceived notions, because they're not scientific, because they have no integrity. And they're going to make this new evidence, they're going to look at it through the paradigm that they already bought into. Their fucking religion. Instead of coming up with a new, different theory, they're just going to try to fit this new evidence into the pre-existing notions of how the world is, right? They're going to interpret the world through their religion. And that's the problem. Once they finally admit that this evidence exists, which they're not trying to do. So it's so counterintuitive and crazy, but the people that are screaming science from the mountaintop are the least scientific people. They don't understand what science is. They really don't. A lot of them they don't even have any basis in logic, right? As I explained, I won't go over it again, but they don't understand the meaning of words. One last thing. Talking about, we're going to try to tie it into logic and semantics, I guess. The Fox Strikes left a comment on this video. I don't know if I'll be able to find it, where he says that asymptomatic means, oh, there it is. Asymptomatic means without symptoms, like how atheist means without belief in God. Asymptomatic means healthy. This is a waste of time. That's what asymptomatic means. Now, asymptomatic means without symptoms. Yeah, no shit, buddy. No shit. You basically just took asymptomatic and broke down the prefix and the root, right? Symptomatic, yeah, no shit. atheist. No, and asymptomatic means no symptoms. Without symptoms means no symptoms. Okay? Atheist means no God without symptoms. Asocial, does that mean without social skills? Maybe, I don't know. It's the same thing, right? No God. Atheist means no God. Not knowing is agnostic. You're making a knowledge claim. You're making a truth claim. When you're saying you're an atheist, you're actually making a truth claim. Just like when you're saying that there's no symptoms, you're making a truth claim. That there are no symptoms. There is no God. You're just being wishy-washy because you don't want to make truth claims. Because then the burden of proof is on you. And you can't prove a negative, or at the very least, it's very difficult. Right? You'd have to exhaust all the possibilities. So you don't want to commit to that because, that complicates things for you. You just want somebody else to prove it to you. I don't care to prove God to anybody. So, but when I say asymptomatic means healthy, I'm taking the meaning and telling you what follows, right? I'm taking it to its logical conclusion, right? What's disease? I've talked about this many times. I'm not saying he's wrong, but he's just basically, he's breaking down the word and, breaking it down into its constituents and telling you what it means. I still disagree. I don't think he's being very, very precise. Asymptomatic means no symptoms. It's the opposite of symptoms, right? Anyway, semantics, no big deal. But what I'm doing is I'm taking it a step further and carrying it out to its logical conclusion, right? Because, well, what's dis-ease? Lack of ease, right? Ease being normal state of being. Dis-ease, that's without that. Or it's the opposite of ease, right? Unease. Those are symptoms. Disease means symptoms. And this is like, ask any doctor. How do you diagnose a disease, especially nowadays, over fucking Zoom, right? Telemedicine. How do you diagnose it? Symptoms. It's always been done this way forever. Before we had microscopes, before any of this stuff. You looked at someone's symptoms, and that was dis-ease, right? Because they were in a state that's abnormal, right? They weren't at ease anymore. There was something bothering them, ailing them. They had symptoms, right? So asymptomatic, if you don't have any symptoms, that means you don't have any disease, right? I'm just carrying this statement to its logical conclusion to show you how absurd it is to say that people who don't have any disease are unhealthy, right? When disease means you're unhealthy. You have these symptoms, obvious symptoms. So if you don't have any symptoms, you're not unhealthy. You are healthy. But they have to confuse the language. They have to invent these words such as asymptomatic. And look, asymptomatic doesn't, because I've been talking about what words mean, that if you have a different word, the meaning has to be at least somewhat different, generally speaking. Well, you could use asymptomatic and apply that to, all spheres of life. Like, I don't know, asymptomatic revolution. Does that even make any sense? I don't know. But it doesn't necessarily have to deal with disease. Asymptomatic versus disease is exactly that, right? So I'm taking asymptomatic in a medical sense and translating that, because that's a broader term that means basically the same thing, but it could apply to various spheres or disciplines. But when it comes to the medical field, asymptomatic means disease-free, right? You have to translate it. And it points out this absurdity that they're pushing onto us right now. That's, in this Orwellian world, that you're asymptomatic, but you carry a disease. It doesn't make any sense, right? You're spreading a disease even though you don't have a disease. It doesn't make any sense. But that's exactly, why I take this in the current context and have to translate it, I guess, for some people, so that they understand, so that they don't lose the meaning, the real meaning and the implications of how words are used to manipulate, or how words and titles are hidden to hide certain facts and truths and frame games, basically, and goals and desires of certain people to do certain things. So yeah, in the medical context, asymptomatic means healthy. But because this person has bought into this idea that asymptomatic is not healthy without any justification, right? There's no logic to what you're saying. If indeed you're saying that asymptomatic isn't healthy in this context, he seems to be disagreeing with that, right? You're just illogical. But this is why science has to follow logic. Because if you don't have logic, then you can't have truth. And if there's no truth, how can you have... Then science is invalid. If it doesn't follow the rules of logic and truth, then it cannot be... Then it's worthless, right? And then anything goes, anything is possible. Then you can have Don Quixote turning into Romeo and Juliet due to hundreds, thousands, millions of copying errors. This is what you believe, evolutionists. Address this. You can say you believe that this sort of thing is possible. That's fine. But please don't say that's more rational than assuming that somebody wrote those books, or maybe two different people. That's like logic. This is why you need logic and reason when it comes to science. You're telling me that due to perhaps millions of copying errors, this perfect, beautiful work of art can turn into a completely different and seemingly unrelated also work of art due to error. That's what you're saying. Now, again, if you want to believe that, then that's on you. But please, at the very least, be intellectually honest enough to say that is less credible than believing in a creator, which doesn't prove the creator. No doubt about it. But that is definitely the more rational position. Do you disagree? It's really that simple. What's wrong with my analogy? Or David Berlinski's analogy? Did somebody create these wonderful, beautiful, clear, concise, or well-defined, whatever the fuck you want to call them, perfect, as close to perfection as possible, books, stories? Or is it possible that one just evolved into the other due to copying error? What's more credible? Be honest. Here's the deal, guys. If you make it to the end of the video, congratulations. I will erase every single comment about evolution and how it's true and how I'm full of shit. I'm going to erase all of that, all right? Just for this video. Unless you first, before, you could say whatever the fuck you want. You could call me a bitch. You could, insult my mother. Do whatever the fuck you want. But before you do any of that, before you start pushing this idea of evolution, you tell me which is more reasonable to believe. You tell me what's more reasonable to believe. That one perfect book turned into another perfect book in a different language across, a few countries, at the very least, across the sea, due to a bunch of random copying errors, if even millions of them. Okay, with millions of would-be books, not going anywhere in the whole process too. But due to a bunch of copying errors, one perfect work of art turned into another perfect work of art, or as perfect as possible. You tell me if that's more rational or reasonable to believe than that somebody wrote these, created these perfect works of art. Before you attack me, and say whatever the fuck you will, I don't care. Before you attack me or you try to propose how evolution is true or how scientific theory is fact or any of this other fucking nonsense, before you do any of that, you tell me what's more reasonable, rational. What's the more reasonable belief? Just belief. Creator or copying errors? Getting perfection from error? Millions of errors leading to perfection, or some perfect creator creating perfection? What's more reasonable? Honest, just be honest for a second. Just be honest. What's more rational? You let me know. Thanks for watching.